Data protection is not to be confused with what we call archiving. Archiving is a permanent record of fixed content, and the goal there is what you're trying to do is store data, probably a fixed number of copies for a very long period of time. So in that case, your archives, that data isn't expired out. And that's data you're looking at keeping for 5 years, 30 years. The nice part from a tape standpoint is that market is growing from an archive standpoint. And so every customer says, I want to keep data for a very, very long period of time. Generally, if it's of significant enough scale, they're going to be looking at putting that to tape. And this is our chart. It's based on some data we picked up for flash and for disk and for tape pricing. What you have there at the top, the black lines, that's kind of flash pricing. And as has been pointed out, that's been coming down pretty aggressively over time as companies go out and build new systems around that. The middle there is disk pricing. If you look back in 2011, you see a little spike associated with the floods in Thailand. And really after that point, the thing's been following a new curve in terms of cost reductions. And so while there's a large transition going on from disk to flash, the ironic part is the two storage companies that are building disk drives are now benefiting from that with higher revenues associated with the flash portion of the portfolio. Beneath that's the tape curves. And generally tape, we talk about being about an order of magnitude less expensive than disk. I do believe if you're talking large-scale cloud companies that basically are buying those disk drives at cost from the vendors, they're putting erasure encoding and things like that on top of it, there you're getting down to probably advantages of like 3 or 4x. As we look forward in time, we really don't see it changing, certainly for the next 5 years. That particular gap is going to maintain. It probably will grow as you see things like LTO-8 coming to market, and you hear people talk about what LTO-9 will look like going forward. One of the interesting development is that you're seeing now the cloud companies, what they're doing, you may be using a smaller library, you may be using older technology. They're buying the biggest libraries they can get on the market, they're packing them full of the latest and greatest technology, and they're driving down that dollars per terabyte and reflecting that back out to customers basically at their cost. This is very interesting. First of all, it's very good for the tape market, but at the same time, it's very interesting from your perspective because it does give you a lot of different alternatives in how you want to manage your media. But this is why we're talking about the dollars per terabyte coming down, and we don't really see disk pricing being a threat. So disk pricing right now is somewhere around 10 terabytes. In terms of capacity, they have roadmaps to 12 and such, 14 terabytes. Nobody's coming out and saying, I got 20 terabytes working in the lab. There is value in removable media. And certainly that's shipping data off-site. You see that kind of with Iron Mountain Mall. At the same time, if you want to sync up cloud environments, or you have a cloud environment here on the West Coast and you want to sync it up to the East Coast, it's really kind of expensive to go sync 10 petabytes coast to coast. You can go get a FedEx box, load up some cartridges, and just do an import on the other side, and you can be up and running very, very quickly from that standpoint. And so it continues to be a media of transport capability that some people take advantage of. And finally, reliability. We talked about the 30-year shelf life that's available for that. Most customers look at migrations every 10 years or so. The roadmap is moving forward so rapidly. In the course of 10 years, you may have the opportunity to do a 4-to-1 compression, 8-to-1 compression. That keeps you in the same footprint, keeps you the same library size. And so again, most customers don't let the stuff sit out there for 30 years, even though they possibly could. The thing that we believe, though, is that tape is the most cost-effective solution. The reason we don't talk about other technologies is we really don't view them as viable. As we look at these particular roadmaps, we don't see any real threats to this particular technology for the next 5 to 10 years, which is why we keep putting tape into the big libraries.